Hello again. We're back together, continuing on with our video series here. The objective again is to help people walk a stronger life with Jesus involved in our lives, which should generate success for us. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by Him. And He is the one that wants to be involved in our life, and He's there for us. So we get the chance to really take advantage, I guess you could say. Each of these videos is intended to stand on its own. I'll do a little bit of review. We spent the first video, we talked about the creation of all things and how come the commission that God gave us in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28. The second video, we talked about governing mindsets. We talked about the Lord's Prayer, tremendous things in the Lord's Prayer, particularly the second phrase, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." In the day that the Lord, when I was sitting outside, right over there actually, and it was in October 2014, and I was saying the Lord's Prayer, and I got to the end of that phrase, and He said, "What does that mean to you?" And I said, "Well, when I get to that phrase, I ask you to give me your will." And He said, "Not exactly." And then I said, "Okay." Yes. What do you say when somebody tells you that? The creator of the universe through an angel tells you, "Not exactly." But He said this, and I want to repeat this because this is so key. "Choose me, I will give you my will." So I took an event asking Him for His will. He made it a lifestyle. Because how many choices do we make in a day? Powerful, powerful. And it applies to everybody. Everybody. It's awesome. Okay, so today we're going to continue on. I'm going to talk about purpose of life. This is a few broad things that I want to cover here today. But if I was to describe the difference between where we tend to be versus where He wants us to be, I think we could explain it this way. By the way, do you have your coffee? Need coffee? Right here. And let me start with a cup of coffee. And again, Fireside Chats is what we're calling this series. And it's all for the benefit of us, everybody, to live a more successful life in every realm that we're in. So, all right. So there, you can basically, we've heard the phrase of being purpose driven. Well, that tends to focus on us. If we are presence driven, it's God's presence that then guides our life. That doesn't mean we don't have purpose, because we do. Genesis 1:28 gave us the purpose. But the focus needs to be on Him, not on us. So as long as we're focusing on God, so it's His presence that is driving our life, then we'll be in good shape. Let's take a look at this a little bit deeper. James chapter 4, 13 to 15, I think is a great application of this. Choosing the presence driven versus purpose driven, and here it goes. Verse 13, James chapter 4 says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to such and such a city and spend a year there and engage in business and make a profit." There's nothing wrong with any of that. Okay, let's keep going. "Yet you do not know what your life will be like tomorrow. You are just a vapor that appears for a little while and vanishes away." Again, take that statement from the perspective of all of eternity, right? We show up for a short time and then we're not around anymore. But that's not the point. Well, the point is that we do have a piece of the puzzle, but we shouldn't get so carried away with our piece we forget about the puzzle, right? Okay. Verse 15, "Instead you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and also do this or that." There's nothing wrong with the objective of the first of verse 13. The purpose, the issue is, what's the foundation of that step? This is important. The Lord has things for us to do. He releases us in season, and we need to follow what that release is. We don't want to get so carried away doing our own thing that we forget what his thing is. That's the whole purpose of this section here. And in the process of receiving his information, here's a great example and discussion of this. I'm going to cover this in a couple of videos. Is the power of revelation, which is available for us every day. Going back to the Lord's Prayer again, right? Give us this day our daily bread. Daily is the key. Bread, it's not just bread. Jesus made this clear in when he was in the wilderness, when the devil wanted him to change rocks into bread so he could eat. He said, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So this is revelation. Now let's talk about revelation. That comes up in Matthew 16, 15 to 17, in the piece I'm dealing with here. Jesus was with the disciples, and he had asked a question. He says, who do people say that I am? And they went through a dialogue with that. In verse 15, he said this, who do you say that I am? Personal. It doesn't matter what somebody else says, it's what do you say? Who do you say that I am, he asked. Peter responded, he says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And then Jesus come back and said this, and here's the revelation piece. He said, flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. That's the power and the source of revelation. And it's available all the time. So Jesus continues in this particular section and talks about the fact that he is going to build it. In fact, he says in verse 18, he says, upon this rock, that's the rock of revelation, I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it. That's a strong statement. God gives us revelation for us to live our lives. And we are part of his church. And the powers of Hades will not overpower the church. So we're in a great place. Listen and follow what he says, right? Always listen to what he has to say, so we receive his revelation. We can be so cold against it that we miss it. He's always out there. It's just that the closer you get to him, the more you see it. Okay. So we want to live a life that glorifies the Father. That's in John 5, 7 to 8. So we're here to discover the purpose and call and be open to the seasons of our life. We should ask the Lord, what's my purpose? Why am I here? And then respond to the send. We remember Abraham. Abraham, the Lord said, he sent them, right? Leave your comfort, go west. That's a pretty broad statement, right? We talked in another video. We talk about the fact that God get very specific with with where you are sent. So discover the purpose and call, and be open to the seasons of our life. Ask for the purpose. Listen for the updates and respond to his call. Respond and be obedient. Now I'm going to discuss something called the clarity to cost ratio, which is something that a guy named John Paul Jackson, who we followed until his passing, but we still followed his ministry. I learned a lot about listening to God from John Paul Jackson. But he made this point here. He said, he referenced the clarity to cost ratio. And what does that mean? The point of it is this. God may give you a command to go, which is pretty broad. But when he gets to the point, he gets closer and closer to the goal, he gets more and more specific. The clarity to cost ratio says this. The more clear the direction, the greater the cost if we don't do it. So, as we keep listening, listen to what he says and respond to what he says. There are multiple seasons in our life, season after season after season. As an example, in my corporate years, I went through numerous seasons with different assignments, different challenges, and I learned different things. And now we're in another season. This goes on over and over again for everybody. And each of these seasons reveals something about us, trains us about us, and prepares us for something for the fall, a season that's coming. So this is truly a lifestyle of listening and walking with the Lord. And we're going to end right there today. It's a pleasure to sit with you. Enjoy the fire. Enjoy your coffee. And I'll see you in the next segment. Have a great day.